Imagine this. You're standing in a cold, damp cell. The air is thick with the stench of decay and despair. You hear a whisper, but when you turn around, there's nothing there. Then you see it, a shadowy figure lurking at the edge of your vision. It moves quickly, silently, before vanishing into thin air. This is just one of the many chilling encounters reported by visitors to Eastern State Penitentiary, a former prison with a dark and haunted past. Eastern State Penitentiary is a place where the veil between our world and the next seems thin. It's a place where the echoes of suffering and despair linger in the air, long after the last inmate has left. One of the most haunted areas of the prison is Cell Block 12, where a shadowy figure has been seen by numerous visitors and staff. Some say it's the ghost of a former inmate, driven mad by the isolation and despair of solitary confinement. Others say it's a demonic entity, drawn to the prison's dark energy. Whatever the reason, Eastern State Penitentiary is a place that gets under your skin and stays with you long after you've left. Built in 1829, Eastern State Penitentiary was once the most expensive prison in America. Its revolutionary design, a radial system with cell blocks branching out from a central hub, was intended to inspire penitence and reform in its inmates. Each cell was a small, solitary chamber, designed to force prisoners into introspection and reflection. They were kept in near-total isolation, with only a skylight to remind them of the world outside. This system of solitary confinement, known as the Pennsylvania system, was highly controversial. While proponents argued that it would lead to rehabilitation, critics condemned it as cruel and inhumane. The reality, as it turned out, was far more horrific. The isolation and sensory deprivation drove many inmates to madness. They suffered from hallucinations, paranoia, and suicidal thoughts. The prison's conditions were notoriously harsh. Inmates endured freezing winters and sweltering summers with no escape from the elements. Disease was rampant and medical care was often inadequate or non-existent. The suffering and despair of the inmates seemed to have seeped into the very walls of the prison, creating a palpable sense of dread and unease. After Eastern State Penitentiary closed its doors in 1971, stories of paranormal activity began to surface. Visitors and staff reported strange noises, cold spots, and unexplained apparitions. The prison quickly gained a reputation as a haunted hotspot, attracting ghost hunters and thrill seekers from around the world. One of the most common reports is of disembodied voices and whispers. Some say they've heard the sounds of chains dragging, doors slamming shut, and inmates screaming. Others have reported hearing their names called out in the darkness. There have also been numerous sightings of shadowy figures lurking in the cell blocks and corridors. These figures often appear suddenly and vanish just as quickly, leaving witnesses shaken and bewildered. One of the most famous ghost stories from Eastern State Penitentiary is the tale of the face in the guard tower. In the 1940s, a construction worker was renovating one of the prison's guard towers when he claimed to have seen a horrifying sight. As he turned a corner, he came face to face with a grotesque visage staring out from one of the tower's windows. The face was described as being pale and gaunt, with hollow eyes and a malevolent grin. The worker was so terrified that he fled the tower and refused to return. The story quickly spread, cementing Eastern State Penitentiary's reputation as a place of true terror. To this day, visitors and staff report feeling a sense of unease when they approach the guard tower. Some have even claimed to have seen the face themselves, peering out from the window as if watching their every move. In the 1990s, renowned parapsychologist Dr. William Taylor conducted a series of investigations at Eastern State Penitentiary. Dr. Taylor and his team used a variety of scientific instruments to measure electromagnetic fields, temperature fluctuations, and other anomalies that might indicate the presence of paranormal activity. Despite recording some unusual readings, Dr. Taylor's findings were inconclusive. He was unable to definitively prove or disprove the existence of ghosts. However, he did note that the prison's history and atmosphere could profoundly affect visitors, leading them to experience hallucinations, heightened emotions, and other phenomena that could be mistaken for paranormal activity. Dr. Taylor's work highlighted the importance of approaching paranormal investigations with a healthy dose of skepticism. While it's tempting to attribute every unexplained noise or shadow to a ghost, it's crucial to rule out all other possible explanations first. Despite the lack of conclusive evidence, Dr. Taylor acknowledged that Eastern State Penitentiary is a place with a powerful and unsettling atmosphere. He theorized that the prison's history of suffering and despair could have left behind a kind of psychic residue, a lingering echo of the past that continues to haunt the present. This theory suggests that the prison's dark history might be responsible for the eerie experiences reported by visitors. Eastern State Penitentiary's eerie atmosphere and haunting stories have made it a popular location for film and television productions. The prison's crumbling walls, decaying cell blocks, and oppressive atmosphere provide the perfect backdrop for horror films, thrillers, and documentaries about the paranormal. One of the most famous films shot at Eastern State Penitentiary is the 1995 cult classic 12 Monkeys, starring Bruce Willis and Brad Pitt. Other notable productions filmed at Eastern State Penitentiary include the horror films Return to House on Haunted Hill and Haunted Prison, as well as episodes of the television shows Ghost Adventures and Most Haunted. The prison's use as a filming location has further cemented its reputation as a haunted hotspot, attracting even more visitors eager to experience the eerie atmosphere and catch a glimpse of the paranormal. Eastern State Penitentiary has become a regular stop on the ghost hunting circuit, attracting paranormal investigators and television shows from around the world. Armed with EMF readers, EVP recorders, and thermal cameras, these modern-day ghostbusters hope to capture evidence of the spirits said to roam the prison's halls. Shows like Ghost Adventures, Ghost Hunters, and Most Haunted have all filmed episodes at Eastern State Penitentiary, documenting their investigations and sharing their findings with millions of viewers. The popularity of these shows has led to a surge in interest in ghost hunting and paranormal investigation. Eastern State Penitentiary has become a kind of pilgrimage site for fans of these shows who come hoping to experience the prison's haunted atmosphere for themselves. I'll never forget the first time I investigated Eastern State Penitentiary. It was a cold, damp night, and the air was thick with anticipation. As we walked through the prison's gates, I could feel the weight of its history pressing down on me. We started our investigation in cell block 12, where the shadowy figure has been seen countless times. We set up our equipment and began asking questions, hoping for a response from the other side. The air grew cold, and I felt a shiver run down my spine. Then we heard it, a faint whisper, barely audible above the hum of our equipment. We rushed to the other end of the cell block, following the sound of the voice. As we rounded a corner, I felt a cold spot wash over me. The hair on the back of my neck stood on end, and then I saw it. A shadowy figure darting across the end of the hallway. Why is Eastern State Penitentiary so haunted? Some say it's the sheer number of people who suffered and died within its walls. Others believe that the prison's unique architecture and design create a kind of paranormal echo chamber, trapping energy and spirits within its confines. Whatever the reason, there's no denying that Eastern State Penitentiary is a place where the veil between our world and the next seems thin. It's a place where the past and present collide, and where the stories of those who lived and died within its walls continue to haunt the living. Perhaps it's the isolation and despair that permeated the prison for over a century. Or maybe it's the echoes of the violence and suffering that took place within its walls. Whatever the reason, Eastern State Penitentiary is a place that stays with you long after you've left. Ghost hunting can be a controversial pursuit. Some people believe that it's disrespectful to the dead to disturb their final resting place. Others argue that it's simply a harmless hobby, a way to connect with history and explore the unknown. As someone who's dedicated his life to investigating the paranormal, I believe that it's important to approach ghost hunting with respect and sensitivity. We should always remember that we're dealing with the spirits of those who have passed on, and we should treat them with the same dignity and respect that we would afford any living person. We should also be mindful of the impact that our investigations can have on others. Not everyone believes in ghosts, and some people may find our methods intrusive or even offensive. It's important to be respectful of these differences and to avoid causing harm or distress to others. Eastern State Penitentiary stands today as a monument to a bygone era of criminal justice. Its crumbling walls and decaying cell blocks serve as a stark reminder of the human cost of isolation and despair. But the prison is also a place of transformation. It has evolved from a place of punishment to a place of education and reflection. Today, Eastern State Penitentiary is a National Historic Landmark, open to the public for tours, events, and paranormal investigations. Visitors can learn about the prison's history, explore its eerie corridors, and even spend the night within its haunted walls. The prison has also become a platform for social justice advocacy. It hosts exhibits and programs that raise awareness about mass incarceration, solitary confinement, and the need for criminal justice reform. Eastern State Penitentiary is a place where the past and present collide, and where the stories of those who lived and died within its walls continue to resonate with visitors from around the world.